Chapter 1. The Dare. The moon hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows across the overgrown grounds of the abandoned asylum. A group of 5 teenagers stood at its rusted gates, their faces illuminated by the glow of their flashlights. Among them was Sarah, the bold leader of the pack, with her friends Alex, Emily, Jake, and Maya. "We're really going to do this?" Alex asked, his voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. Sarah flashed him a mischievous grin. "Of course we are. We've been talking about exploring the asylum for months. It's now or never." Emily shifted nervously, her flashlight trembling in her hand. "But what if the rumors are true? What if there really are ghosts in there?" "Then we'll finally have some proof," Sarah exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. "Come on, are you all chicken?" With a collective gulp, the group exchanged hesitant glances before nodding in unison. They knew they were about to embark on an adventure unlike any other, one that would test their courage and unravel the mysteries of the cursed asylum. With a creak of rusty hinges, Sarah pushed open the gates, and they stepped into the darkness beyond. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the sound of their footsteps echoed ominously against the crumbling walls. As they ventured deeper into the asylum, their flashlights illuminating the long-forgotten corridors, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Shadows danced at the edges of their vision, and strange noises echoed from the shadows. But they pressed on, fueled by a mixture of curiosity and adrenaline, unaware of the horrors that awaited them within the bowels of the abandoned asylum. Chapter 2. The Haunted History. The group continued their exploration of the asylum, their footsteps echoing through the empty halls. Each step brought them closer to uncovering the dark secrets that lay hidden within its walls. Sarah led the way, her flashlight cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope in the desolate landscape. As they moved deeper into the asylum, they passed through rooms filled with decaying furniture and faded wallpaper, remnants of a time long forgotten. "This place gives me the creeps," Maya whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of their footsteps. Emily nodded in agreement, her eyes darting nervously around the dimly lit corridors. "I can't shake the feeling that we're being watched." Jake scoffed, trying to hide his own unease. "Don't be ridiculous. It's just an old building." But even he couldn't deny the sense of foreboding that hung heavy in the air. The asylum seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as if it were alive and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As they explored further, they stumbled upon a room filled with old patient records, strewn haphazardly across the floor. Sarah knelt down to examine them, her fingers tracing the faded ink of the handwritten notes. "These records are from when the asylum was still operational," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It looks like they were conducting experiments on the patients." The group gathered around her, their eyes scanning the pages in disbelief. The records detailed horrifying treatments, from electroshock therapy to lobotomies, all in the name of science. "This place was a house of horrors," Alex muttered, his voice trembling with anger. But as they delved deeper into the records, they realized that the true horror of the asylum was yet to be revealed. For hidden among the pages was a darker truth, one that would shake them to their very core and reveal the sinister forces that lurked within the asylum's walls. Chapter 3. The Encounters Begin. As the group delved deeper into the abandoned asylum, the air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to dance with a life of their own. Unease settled over them like a suffocating blanket, each step forward feeling heavier than the last. Sarah led the way, her flashlight cutting through the darkness as they navigated the labyrinthine corridors. But no matter how hard they tried to shake off the feeling of being watched, it lingered like a persistent whisper in the back of their minds. Suddenly, Emily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth as she pointed down the hallway. "Did you see that?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of their footsteps. The others turned to look, their hearts pounding in their chests. At the end of the hallway, a flicker of movement caught their eyes, like a shadow darting out of sight. "It's probably just our imaginations," Jake said, though his voice lacked conviction. But as they continued down the corridor, they were met with more unsettling sights and sounds. Doors slammed shut of their own accord, and strange whispers echoed from the darkness. "We need to get out of here," Maya said, her voice trembling with fear. But before they could make their escape, they heard a blood-curdling scream echoing from somewhere deep within the asylum. It sounded human, yet twisted and distorted, sending shivers down their spines. Without hesitation, they raced towards the source of the scream, their flashlights cutting through the darkness like knives. But when they reached the room from which the sound had emanated, they found it empty, the only evidence of its occupant a pool of blood on the floor. Panic set in as they realized they were not alone in the asylum. Something was hunting them, something dark and malevolent that lurked in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And as they huddled together, their breaths coming in ragged gasps, they knew that their nightmare was far from over. Chapter 4. Uncovering the Truth. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, the group huddled together in the dimly lit room, their minds racing with fear and uncertainty. The blood on the floor served as a grim reminder that they were not alone in the asylum, and that whatever lurked in its shadows was far from friendly. "We have to find a way out of here," Sarah said, her voice determined despite the tremor in her tone. "But first, we need to figure out what we're dealing with." They gathered around the pool of blood, examining it closely for any clues as to what had happened, but the scene offered little in the way of answers, leaving them more confused and terrified than ever. "It's like something out of a nightmare," Emily whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of their racing hearts. As they searched the room for any sign of their unseen assailant, Alex stumbled upon a hidden compartment in the wall. Inside, he found a tattered journal, its pages yellowed with age and filled with handwritten notes. "It looks like some kind of diary," he said, flipping through the pages with trembling hands. It belonged to one of the doctors who worked at the asylum. The group gathered around him, their eyes scanning the entries for any clue as to what had happened. As they read, they uncovered a chilling tale of cruelty and despair, detailing the experiments conducted on the patients and the horrors they endured. But amidst the darkness, they found a glimmer of hope, a passage that spoke of a ritual that could banish the spirits from the asylum and put an end to their reign of terror. "We have to perform this ritual," Maya said, her voice resolute. "It's our only chance of escaping this nightmare alive." With newfound determination, they set out to gather the items needed for the ritual, their hearts pounding with fear and anticipation. Little did they know that their journey was far from over, and that the true horror of the asylum was yet to be revealed. Chapter 5. The Final Confrontation. Armed with the knowledge from the journal, the group ventured deeper into the asylum, their determination overshadowing their fear. Each step brought them closer to the heart of the darkness that plagued the abandoned halls, where restless spirits awaited their final confrontation. They gathered the necessary items for the ritual, a mixture of herbs, candles, and incantations, and returned to the room where they had found the journal. With shaking hands, they began to set up the ritual, their hearts pounding in their chests as they prepared to face the unknown. As the candles flickered to life, casting eerie shadows on the walls, they felt a chill in the air, a sign that the spirits were aware of their presence. But they pressed on, reciting the incantations with all the conviction they could muster, their voices trembling with fear and determination. Suddenly the room grew still, the air thick with anticipation as they waited for the spirits to reveal themselves. And then, with a deafening roar, the darkness erupted into a whirlwind of fury as the restless spirits materialized before them. The spirits were twisted and tormented, their faces contorted with rage as they loomed over the group, their eyes burning with an otherworldly light. But despite their terrifying appearance, the group stood their ground, refusing to back down in the face of their wrath. With a collective shout, they unleashed the power of the ritual, channeling their fear and desperation into a beacon of light that pierced the darkness and banished the spirits from the asylum forever. As the last echoes of the ritual faded into the night, the group collapsed to the floor, exhausted but victorious. They had faced their fears head-on and emerged triumphant, their bond stronger than ever in the face of adversity. But as they made their way out of the asylum, they knew that their ordeal was far from over. For even though the spirits had been banished, the scars they had left behind would linger forever, a reminder of the darkness that lurked within the abandoned halls of the asylum. Chapter 6. The Aftermath. With the ritual complete and the spirits banished from the asylum, the group emerged from the darkness, their hearts heavy with the weight of their ordeal. As they stepped out into the cool night air, they felt a sense of relief wash over them, knowing that they had triumphed over the forces of darkness. But as they made their way back to civilization, they couldn't shake the feeling that they had changed in some profound way. The horrors they had witnessed in the asylum had left a mark on their souls, one that would never truly fade. Days turned into weeks, and life returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after such an experience. But the memories of their time in the asylum lingered, haunting their dreams and coloring their waking hours with a sense of unease. Despite their best efforts to move on, they found themselves drawn back to the asylum, unable to escape the pull of its dark secrets. But each time they returned, they found the building empty, its halls silent and still, as if the spirits had never been there at all. And so, they carried on with their lives, forever changed by their encounter with the cursed asylum. Though they knew that they had banished the spirits from its walls, they also knew that the darkness they had faced would always be a part of them, a reminder of the fragility of the human spirit in the face of true horror.